formally to evoke the intensity of some of those scenes?
I wanted the 1942 period to feel real. That was my obsession. I wanted to keep it realistic and raw, because I didn't want to do a sentimental movie. And in order to do that, I mean, what happened, the fact it's quite easy to know. You have to read books and do your homework, basically. There's something more interesting is I met with some survivors. There are very few of them, survivors of the Veldiv, I mean. And so I had the chance to meet them, 2 women. And so I asked them, after all these years, 17 today, the Veldiv was like 69 years ago. It was 16th and 17th of July. And so I told them 2 years ago, like, after all these years, what do you remember? And they told me about the noise. They told me about the heat, the smell, about the fact that everywhere they were looking, there were like thousands of people. And so that's what I tried to bring on screen. Also, I didn't want to make this sort of spectacular movie. Like, when you're in the Veldiv, I'm not doing that Lord of the Rings shot where you discover everything. I always want to stay in Sarah's eyes, in Sarah's point of view, so you can feel with her, and that's why it feels real.
And would you just tell the story? I read that you discovered a family story that you used in the film with the ring and the poison.
No, they stopped crying. You don't want me to. No, that's true that we were the kind of family that would not talk about that every day. It's an understatement. And but in prep, my mother opened up a little when I was prepping the movie, and so she gives me these papers, basically, certificate of death, list of deportees with my grandfather's name, and I see that he died just a few days after being arrested. He was arrested in the free zone in March 1943, and he died a few days later in Majdanek, and it didn't make any sense because he was in good shape, and the Nazis used these people to work, usually, especially the men in their 30s. You know, they needed them, and so I'm like, it is weird. What did he die? And she said, where? Mamie, my grandmother, she said the story that he had poison, and that if he was arrested, he would kill himself. So when I heard that, of course, I just wanted to put it in the movie in an homage, and also because I was totally fascinated by the fact that when you have nothing, the only thing that you have, your last pride, is to choose the time of your death.
So did you add that into the script? Well,
Yes, I did.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for some audience questions. I'm sure you have some, so don't be shy. I see yes, miss in the back.
Yes, first of all, I want to thank you for the wonderful.
Where are you?
There, right here.
Can you stand up?
No, because I don't see far. How do you say? Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
I wanted to thank you for a wonderful movie. You did a beautiful job of adapting the book. I saw 2 changes that I just wondered why you did. One was in the book, I believe she was writing this article for the 60th anniversary, and you've updated it a few years, and I wondered if you had a reason for that. And then also I noticed that you cut out the story about the Bertrand and his mistress. And I just wondered why that was.
He sort of seems like the kind of guy who would have a mistress.
Yeah, about the date, it's true that in the book it's in 2002, but 2 reasons. First, it was complicated to have, like, we already had 1 period piece, so 2 period movies was complicated because even if it's 2002, you had to change everything in the streets, the cars and stuff, so it's pretty complicated. And also, we felt, for the audience, a young audience, it was better than it was nowadays. And as far as Bertrand's mistress is concerned, let's say in a French perspective that
We've had enough with French and their mistresses.
Bertrand was exactly, it's a cliche, it never happens, you see.
Okay, let's take another. How about right here in the front?
I'm sure you've talked to the writer.
She'll bring you up a microphone.
I'm sure you've talked to the writer, Rosnay. What was her motive for writing this book? Did she have any family connection, or I think she's not Jewish, am I correct?
No, Tatiana is not Jewish. I think she wrote that book because one day she discovered what was because the Veldiv Roundup, it's like an expression we knew in France, but we didn't really know what it meant. And someday she realized what it meant, and she realized that that's a story that was not taught in school, and that on a wide scale, that's something that was never addressed in a work of fiction that would be accessible to a large audience. So she said, I'm going to do it, because she had a huge interest in it. And it was turned down by like 20 publishers. Nobody wanted the book.
Nobody wanted.
Nobody
I think I read somewhere that she had been studying different streets and places in Paris. She was writing something about locations. I don't remember exactly what it was, and she stumbled into some of these old neighborhoods and these streets, and when she began to unearth the history, she delved deeper and deeper, and then all of a sudden she felt compelled to tell the story in a very public way. Okay. How about anyone over here? Yes, this lady right over here.
The Fong family that adopted this girl received money monthly from the grandfather that took over their apartment. Did Sarah ever find out that money was coming monthly? You know, he bought her clothes and all that, but money was sent to the farmer by this.
I think he says it in the letter that he has to tell her some, right?
Yeah.
See, I didn't read the book, so I didn't.
He says it here.
In the movie.
No, in one of the voiceover scenes when he's reading, you hear the letter,
Oh,
he
okay.
says, I had to be honest with her. I told her.
So she knew about it. Okay, thank you.
Gentleman right behind you.
Hi, this is, I guess, a pragmatic question. Is it a nationwide release, like so I can go home and email my friends, you've got to see this movie? What is this, what cities will it be in?
Well, next Friday is New York and LA, and the following week it's like 15 or 20 towns, and it's supposed to grow, and we need you to make it grow. But I don't know what town are you talking about, but yeah, I think it's going to play in quite a fair amount of towns.
Are you happy with the response you've been getting from the film? What's your experience been? I'm sure you're going to screenings all over.
Well, yeah, of course. We have a fantastic response from the audience. We have a very good response from the press, and like I was in Tokyo in late October at the Tokyo Film Festival, and we won the Audience Award. So I don't know, it's not about the award. It's not about the award. It's about the fact that it's in Tokyo. I didn't know what to expect, you know. And so I was so happy. In Holland, it's the most successful French movie ever. We outgrossed Transformers 2 there.
Okay, we have time for some more. Okay, there's a lady up here in the front.
I don't think it's a question, it's just a comment on it that I could very much relate to the scenes with the trucks and the camps and everything else, and I just thought it was so well done because of what you mentioned before, because all you did was the noise and the crowds and the screaming, and all of that was so perfectly related and done that as if you were there.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that it was beautifully done, and also the other thing is that I have never seen a movie so beautifully following the book.
Yeah. Well said.
Did you see Tatiana yesterday on the Piers Morgan show? Did you see what she said about the film? No. She really loves it. I mean, she said, like, because she has a British accent, she said, my 3 million readers, you have to see that movie, you're going to be very happy with it.
Okay, how about right here in front?
On Piers Morgan show on CNN, she was there yesterday.
You can Google it.
Who was on the Piers?
The author of the book.
Tatiana and Harvey.
Oh, the author.
I'm just wondering if the movie, I mean, if the book had the same back and forth narrative.
Yeah, sure.
And did that have to be altered at all, like from script stage to like when you're in the editing room? Did you have to like change any of it, or was it kind of set?
No, that was something I was very anxious about. So I worked very hard on the screenplay, and working the transitions, working the pacing, working when you cut in, when you cut out, you know, this kind of stuff.
Just say the
I'm
piece.
sure you're a screenwriter, no?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And so the good thing working so hard is that, believe it or not, but in the editing room, we didn't change any spot.
Really?
in the movie as it was in the screenplay.